Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let me read this mail here, which I'm sure will stir up some feels from all of you. Are we done with feels? By the way, that feels very much like we're I don't know in 2018. It's like older cat ladies that are using that word. The feels. I don't know. Maybe it's still going. Fuck if I know. I don't pay attention to TikTok, or as people my age say, the TikTok. Anyway. But let's read this mail. It says, "Hey Perch, always love your show. Thank you for being a voice of reason in an otherwise shrill and annoying space." Shrill and annoying. Shrill by its nature is annoying. I think that's redundant. Anyway, shrill and annoying space. I have a question about crowdfunding comics, and more to the point, why it feels like a lot of the people who create crowdfunded comics have fumbled the opportunity. Let me explain. When we first started seeing a lot of crowdfunded comics, it was at a time when it felt like the mainstream was blocking new creators from publishing even under indie banners. It's old history now, but once upon a time, Zach tried to publish a comic book through Antarctic Press, was blocked by Mark Waid, and ultimately that led him to do crowdfunding. I feel like that event unlocked the idea in a lot of people's minds that they didn't have to play the traditional game. As a result, for several years, we saw members of the quote-unquote classic comic community attack crowdfunding because they didn't like that somebody found an escape hatch. Somebody found an escape hatch outside of their control. Outside of you get the idea. Outside of their control. However, fast forward to today, and the big fights with crowdfunding are no longer from the classic comic community, but from within crowdfunders themselves. I know you don't like to pay attention to all this stuff, and so for all I know, you don't. But if you take a look at what's going on within groups like CG and others, the majority of the time seems to be spent attacking each other. I don't get it. So many people worked hard to create an avenue outside of the mainstream, and now, rather than propping it up and supporting it, most of the effort goes into shitting on each other. Take a look at Eric July. Eric July has opened up another way to get comics outside the mainstream, and by all accounts is successful at doing so. He's created work for new comic creators and old creators alike. Chuck Dixon is getting a renewed chance in the spotlight thanks to Eric July. For the record, I don't particularly enjoy Eric July's books, but I do enjoy what he's done for comics. However, his biggest detractors, once again, are not Alana Smith or Heather Antos, but rather other crowdfunding creators. Why is that? As you've said many times in the past, rising tide raises all boats. I don't know if I've said that many times in the past. It is true. But anyway, rising tide raises all boats. Shouldn't crowdfunding creators be thankful and proud of each other's success rather than create cliques and factions and basically the same bullshit that we all tried to get away from? I know that you often talk to Sean Murphy. I'm curious his thoughts too. Here's another example of crowdfunding getting a legit superstar to make his own comics, except if you notice who the biggest attackers are, the biggest people who attack are, it is other crowdfunders who go at Sean Murphy for things like cultural appropriation, his characters not looking pretty enough, or bad dialogue, which is a laugh given some of the dialogue in their own books. Why not embrace the fact that you have a creator like Sean Murphy in your space rather than attacking? I guess I just don't get it. And for me, I find myself going to manga or quite frankly back to the mainstream because the petty childish drama is worse within our own creation. Damn. Let me know your thoughts. Okay. If, by the way, if this video is, chewed up and evapped or anything, it's this kind of stuff that tends to make it abundantly clear, because there was one dumbass who did this and then seemed to not understand that I was reading a letter from somebody. That was a letter from somebody, not my own opinion. Here comes my own opinion. Nice break there in the, in the what's going on. I listened to that. I don't listen to a lot of that. This was years ago. And somebody sent me a link to it, and I listened to it. I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, this dumbass doesn't realize I'm reading a mail. Like they were responding like I'm talking about myself in the third person. Like, what is going on? They're like, this is clearly one of the dumbest people on the planet. Anyway, so what's my opinion? Honestly, you could sum it up in one word. It's jealousy. And it really is the same. I mean, and it is the same feeling and thread that you had from, do you remember when Keanu Reeves did the Berserk thing and they crowdfunded it? And I remember a number of creators, but we'll pick on Heather for a moment. Heather Antos was really pissed about it. And it was like, that guy's rich. He should be funding comics, not doing this shit, not raising money. Like there was a genuine anger from within, comics and other creators about why this guy was coming in and doing this. And it was jealousy. It was just that. It was as simple as that. There's somebody who has a lot of money. They're getting a lot of attention, a lot of success. And keep in mind, in the early days, that was the driving force of a lot of the criticism around crowdfunding. Like you identified correctly in the mail, comics was a walled garden, and you had to pay homage to get into it, and you had to play the game by their rules, and you had to, suck up in the way they wanted you to suck up. I mean, this is how comics was. It was hard to break into it, intentionally so. And keep in mind, I think that's bullshit, but there was a method to that, or a reason behind that. And that reason was basically you had a lot of comic creators who struggled to make the right connections and kiss the right ass and everything else to get into comics that way. And so it felt like a shortcut to have gone through all this, who knows what kind of hazing to get into comics. And then suddenly you've got these people getting as much or more attention, not having to do any of that shit. And, I'm sure nobody loves sucking up to CB Cebulski, even though, it's pretty easy. You just bring him food. But I mean, I'm sure nobody enjoyed that. And so the idea that you could avoid, you could get success without having to, bend over for Marvel or DC, it hurt, it stung. But honestly, that's largely the same emotion you see today. It's the Sean thing was eye-opening to me because, he puts out his Zorro book and you have people going at him for, of all things, cultural appropriation. Now, keep in mind, these are right-wing, anti-woke channels, and without a hint of irony, they were accusing Sean of cultural appropriation for the Hispanic lifestyle. I mean, how can anyone do that with a straight face and keep going? And it also boggles my mind because there's this attempt to alter the past. It's like, no, I never did that. Yes, you did, and the videos are still up and the posts are still up. Like you absolutely did do that. Several of you did. And I agree with the concept of well, that's not a good comic. I don't like his writing. Okay, but that's perfectly fine. But some people went on and on and on about it, and it just felt sad. It didn't feel like a critique. It felt personal because a lot of it was jealousy. And in this other battle, I mean, you have people who've been successful. I think Eric July is kind of, the last 2 years version of that Keanu Reeves Berserk area, where you had a lot of people who had been working hard to build up the crowdfunding thing, and in many cases doing videos and doing streams and all that other shit. And along comes this guy, and then he's able to pull big numbers. And yeah, I mean, that probably hurts. But that's why would we want it any other way? That's what it should be. Success is success. And yes, more books successful in crowdfunding sells more books overall. It is a rising tide lifts all ships scenario. It is better when it is not a little cottage industry. It is better when you have big money flying around in this space. It is much better. And so I think that overall, I don't know. I mean, people just need to, and it's easier said than done. I get it, but they need to appreciate, enjoy, and harness their own success without this constant drumbeat of my success comes at the expense of others. I rise when somebody else falls, and whether you're in the legacy comic industry, whether you're in the new comic crowdfunding group, wherever you happen to be, the way you're going to be successful ultimately is through hard work and doing your own thing, not shitting on other people. It's like junk food. You may get some short-term success with that. You may get some attention. And unfortunately, I think social media and YouTube and everything else, it does lend itself to the illusion that you're being successful when you get, a handful of likes or people who like your hot takes or your whatever else. It's why a Heather or Alana or some of these people will post, this guy's a Nazi. It's shocking. It gets 100 likes from sycophants and dummies, and it gets attention, but it's not long lasting, and you find yourself then in a constant need to reinforce that never ends. If you don't keep calling names, if you don't keep attacking, if you don't keep hating what's going on, then suddenly that's your brand now, and people will then you'll get ignored because you're not spicy enough. There's always somebody new who can come along who can rip shit up, and that is the new hotness. And I'm not using another word that is only used by old childless cat ladies, which in itself is a expression that's probably dated at this point. I don't know. It is a shame to me. I do appreciate kind of one point you made, which is, comic books was ugly to get into, and it was hard. And logistically, it required a lot of tough things. And finally, there became this other way to break into comics and to be able to make them and get them out and reach an audience. And you could bypass the mainstream and form something brand new, and there's magic in that. And it feels like that formed, and then all the reasons why people created that option and had that outlet were forgotten. And we went right back trying to build up the walls that the mainstream have. We're really not successful unless we're also gatekeeping and being a bunch of dicks like Marvel or DC. And it just, and keep in mind that in and of itself is an illusion. If you want to make a book, if you want to make a comic book and crowdfund it, nothing is stopping you. Yes, some people may dogpile you and mock you and do other things like that on, their YouTube channels or Twitter or wherever. But it's not gonna stop you. Don't let it stop you, because they can't prevent you from getting a comic out. So just stick to the mission, get the comic out. Don't let people create illusionary power over you. But it is a shame, just that it exists at all, because it's wholly unnecessary. And again, if you look at the numbers, it doesn't pan out. Like, that's the crazy part. You don't win that way. Thanks for listening.